Today we have another epic interview. Every interview is epic. You know why? Because we got amazing people in our community, and it's no different today. We got Steve today. If you want to know how Steve spent less than $2,000 and locked in $119,000 in traded 5 payouts, 60 times his money, then this is the interview that you cannot miss today. And we're privileged to have Steve to come on today and join us in the community. Steve, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a pleasure to be here. Actually, an honor, I should say.
Man, that's just crazy, man. I purposely told Steve, hey, don't tell me too much of your background, your story. I want to be genuinely surprised because I don't want to fake it, right? So let's just dive right in, Steve. Okay, I know you've been trading for a while now. Can you break us down a little bit in terms of your profits and maybe even do some screen share in terms of your payouts you've done recently so people see, you know, like this is real payouts, right? And then we can talk about the strategy and so forth. So if you want to share your screen, you want to talk a little bit about your payouts and how you're doing year to date, you know, we'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, surely. Let's just basically start with payouts. I already got it lined up, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. This is my rise. So my journey in success started in August of 2024. So we've been going now 15 months, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. Now, I've been trading in the prop firm industry since May of 2023. And as you can see, there's multiple firms that I've traded with, you know, but the big ones that you're going to see here is the TraderFi. And what was going on, so TraderFi was actually, they had a Black Friday special in 2024, and the accounts were, I think, $384 a piece. So I picked up 5 of them, and of those 5, this was what I was able to take cash in hand in the bank account. You know, it's not your money it's your money, right? That's what they say. Yeah. So this was in the bank account. And then on top of this, and full disclosure, the other 2 accounts, which I was granted, which are live accounts, I was on their second rollout of live. They gave me 2 accounts, $10,000 a piece. So on top of this, what you're seeing here, there was also 2 $10,000 accounts, which I have since blown. So they are blown. Those live funded accounts, you know, the glory for all the funded traders go for, they're no longer in my possession.
Wow. I mean, like, I wouldn't complain about that, man. Let me just make sure I get the math right. 49.5 plus 13.5 plus 8,100 plus 8,100 plus 5,400 plus 15,000, and that's 99,006 plus the 20K that you got on live, 119,000, guys. I don't know about you guys, but this is life-changing money. Like, he did it from January of 2025 and up to April in 3 months time. Now, guys, this is not an income guarantee. This is exceptional results. But the fact that you can literally put less than $2,000 in a prop firm and get back 119,000, 60 times your money. This is the power of prop firms today. Not that we shouldn't trade a personal account. I trade a personal account, but today we're going to learn about how Steve went from basically spending that 2K into that. And by the way, this is not even all the payouts you've had. What about your total payout so far from trading prop firms since 2023?
So since 2023, it took me about a year to finally get my foot in the door with actually getting payouts. And a lot of that was my own doing. So I have a gambling background. I was actually a big-time sports bettor, which I actually made decent money betting on sports. And I kind of rolled that into the trading, and that was actually very bad. So when I first got into the trading, I was still using that mentality. So it took me a while, as you know, like I said, about a year to actually start getting payouts. But then consistently since August of 2024, so as I said, it's been about 15 months. Here's some of the payouts that you'll see here on Rise. And I said it's with multiple firms. Here's Funded Ticks. Here's Funded Futures Families. Now, of course, we went over the TraderFi. Here's my Funded Futures. Here's with my Apex. I've traded with Apex. Wow. Apex actually is where I got my first payouts from. And that was before they changed their extremely strict rules now. Yep. But as you can see here, I was group trading, as you can tell, because these payouts wouldn't be the same if I was not group trading. But I was group trading these accounts. And then I didn't really take anything out of Apex for over a year. And then, as you can see here, I had 3 accounts with Apex where I basically got denied the past 3 ones. And then I went into kind of like a tilt whirlwind. And then the other firm I traded with, which you give a lot of props about, is Take Profit. And I love Take Profit, like you said, because number 1, it's daily payouts.
Yep.
So here's all my Take Profit withdrawals. Let me just go down here for that. So this is from 9/16 of 2024, and then I've been on a hot streak here the past 2 weeks. And another 2,000 is coming out tonight on top of this right here.
Nice.
This one was today. Another 2,000 is coming out tonight. And actually, with take profit, I normally don't trade the Asian market, but I was bored sitting watching some football. So I opened up my account and I'm like, where's my 150K account? I had no idea what was going on. I thought I blew it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, because I did actually blow a 25,000 take profit account last night, just doing something really stupid. I ended up blowing it, but it didn't really have any payouts in it. But regardless, so then I was concerned that I also may have made a mistake and was trading my 150K account, which is the one I've been using for the past 2 weeks to take great payouts.
Yeah.
Then I looked at my email and they say, oh, no, you are now eligible. You have to go to, I guess, the Funded Pro Plus, because I've already taken out 10,000.
Right.
So I was just kind of like taken back by that, because I haven't had the ability to go to Pro Plus with them yet. So there's some learning curve I guess I'm going to have to check out with how their Pro Plus system works compared to others. So that 150K account is now in the Pro Plus stages, and I got to wait, I guess, another 2 to 4 days in order to be able to trade that again.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because Pro Plus account is actually a live brokerage account. There's no consistency.
Right.
And in the past, I was really hesitant into going Pro Plus, but the more you guys, like you, like Robin, like all these great traders start going on Pro Plus and start locking in payouts, I'm like, it's actually a good thing, because whenever you hit 10,000 on the Pro, they just stop you, right? You can't take more than 10,000. Right. It's their way to cap their loss, right? Because you make money, they lose money. And so let me know how it goes, man. I think I'm going to tell them I may want like 2 or 3 of mine to go to Pro Plus. Today, I took another $4,000 I'm going to request tonight for payout, but I'm going to consider having at least like 2 or 3 going to Pro Plus. The only downside, I think, is really just if you blow the Pro Plus, then you blow the profits in the Pro, which is the only thing I don't like. Other than that, everything is upside for Pro Plus.
Yeah, according to I was doing some reading. According to my understanding is that they automatically reserve 5,000 in, let's just take, I'm taking the 150K account. To my understanding is that you could still blow the account and still be able to take that 5,000 out, assuming that the account's not negative. I don't know how that works, but that's what I don't understand.
So maybe if you have like $10,000 in profits, 5,000 is taken to live, and then if you blow to 5,000, you can request a 5, maybe something like that.
But they were saying it like it starts with a negative balance. They're saying like your drawdown, I guess is what they're saying, starts like negative. So
okay,
I guess you still have a $4,000 drawdown with the 150K account. I guess I'm going to get more information, but it's kind of new to me. And like you're saying, it's new to you as well with the Pro Plus account. So there's a lot.
Yeah, because with my strategy, I don't like going live because I use my own interactive brokers to trade live personal account. I trade options on that. But like for prop firm, it's like a video game. I say it all the time. So I just wanted, they call it sim farming, but it is what it is. If you do it properly, it's very profitable, right? So with all these payouts you have right now, Steve, where are you at in terms of total payouts since a couple of years ago?
So since I started taking them in 2024, we're at roughly a little over $230,000.
Wow, $230,000, and one of those plays were taking a Tradeify, $2,000 spend to 119. I think people are intrigued. Like, how did you do it before 2023? What are you doing? Like, do you currently have a business? Do you have a bankroll? Like, what's your background? How'd you get into it? I think people will be interested to know. What's your story, man?
So my story is, I live in Pennsylvania, so I'm in the United States, and I have a relatively successful small service business. We do window cleaning, pressure washing, gutter cleaning, roof cleaning, and snow removal services. I started that up in 2004. So, I'm 43. I started that up when I was 21. And it's been successful. I have great people who work for me, and I have a great group of people right now who are currently partners in the business with me, and they run it. And eventually one day they're going to take it over. And pretty much, my exit strategy is their entrance strategy. But I had a child in 2022, and unfortunately in business, you have to rely on other people to make you money. I can have $2 million in contracts, but if I don't have the employees to be able to do $2 million of work, that doesn't mean anything. And when my son was born in 2022, I just knew, like, going forward, that relying on other people wasn't going to be the best exit strategy for me for the next 20 years. I saw what was going on with society. I saw what was going on with the youth. I see that the youth doesn't want to work. They don't want to labor. They don't want to do anything. They want to sit on their phone. They want to push buttons, which is great. We're changing the way that people make money, and that's phenomenal. But in my line of work, I just knew So when he was born, I just knew I had to do something. And I started researching. I always was fascinated with trading. And I always kind of like, I got lucky off of some crypto. You know, who didn't get lucky on the whole Dogecoin and everything like that?
Yeah.
A long story short, I had Doge and I bought it sitting by my pool one summer. And I don't even know, I think I was on Twitter at the time and someone said, hey, buy Doge. And I think I spent like $1,400 and I had like a tremendous amount of whatever you want to call it, Doges or coins. And it was just ridiculous. And then 4 months later, I'm looking at it and I was down $500 on it. I said, this isn't going to do anything. I sold it, right?
Yeah.
Well, lo and behold, 6 months later, that same exact $1,400 investment, if I never would have sold it, would have been worth $275,000.
That's when Elon pumped it too, right? Elon Musk was pumping it too.
I know. I remember that. But fortunately, I was able to buy back in. When I saw what was going on with it, I didn't have nearly the amount because, of course, the price was already up. But I did buy back in at like an additional $2,000. And I was still able to make 30-some thousand off of it. Don't get me wrong. But that, like, I cut my $500 loss. And here I am kicking myself in the butt going, oh, my goodness. But that was like my true first experience with trading. And then I started to, of course, research on YouTube and Twitter and everything like that. Like, how can I become successful at trading? And that's actually how I got into the whole prop game. I was always told by a smart investor that you should always use the bank's money, right? Always, whenever you have the opportunity to. And this is exactly what prop firm trading is. It's using the bank's money. It's basically you're buying leverage is what you're doing. And really what people don't understand is they think, oh, I got a $300,000 account. No, you don't. You have a $7,500 account because basically that's what your drawdown is, right? You can't lose $7,500. It's as simple as that. It's not a $300,000 account. Now, yeah, if you treat it the right way, then truly could be. But, you know, as us traders, most people get exuberant when they hear that. And then next thing you know, they'll end up blowing it within an hour or two because they just go in too much size, oversized, doing stupid stuff like we all have and we all continue to do. And that's just the nature of the game. And then I started strategy hopping back and forth, you know, which strategy works for me? This strategy works for me. And I always knew I was a scalper. I can't hold trades. I'm like just like you, except I'm even in and out quicker. My average trade time is probably around 15 to 20 seconds.
Okay.
And I was able to do that. I was on Discord one day and I just happened to come across this guy and he said that I'm using range charts. And I'm like, what? What are range charts? I had no idea. So he said what he uses. He said, you know, this is what I use for NQ. And then I started looking at it and I started saying, wow, this is powerful. And then I started looking for strategies with range charts and I couldn't find any. And then I'm making up my own strategies and then I'm making some money. I'm losing some money. It was just a battle that was going on. And then finally, through push comes to shove, learning and understanding that no one can teach me how to trade. I have to teach myself how to trade. You know, you can put all the indicators on your charts that you want, but you have to find your style. You have to find what suits you. And until you do that, it's going to be a battle. And even when you still do that, it still is a battle because it's a mental battle. It's all in your head at that point in time. But finally, I found my grace is what I'm going to call it. And it started to click. But it wasn't until I started using the range charts that it started to click. I was always trading on the 1 minute. And man, I was getting killed on the 1 minute. You know, basically I would be buying when it was selling and selling when I was supposed to be buying. And I just didn't understand it. And here I am using these crossovers, you know, the EMA crossovers and Bollinger Bands, everything like that. And it just on the 1 minute chart, it didn't make sense to me. But then when I took some of that same stuff and same concepts and put it on the range charts, that's when it started to make sense to me. And now I have a pretty good setup that I am consistently using. For the most part, I still have my days where the trade doesn't work and next thing you know, I entered or I FOMO'd or I DCA'd and did something stupid. But for the most part, I'm sticking to the strategy that I created and I'm actually trying to automate this. This is because when you see what's going on here, it might open your eyes, it might open a lot of people's eyes. And hopefully that's what it does because I think that these range charts are extremely powerful, but you have to understand you're in and out quick. Most of the time, by the time you hit buy is by the time you're selling. It's that quick. It's powerful stuff. It really is. But it's really only 5, 6, 7, 8, sometimes 10, sometimes 15 points. But the problem with that is that you have a tough time letting your runners run in this system that I'm doing. And I've seen a lot of the trades that I've taken for 7, 8, 10 points go for 70 to 100 points. And it kills you. It really does. But you have to sit there and realize that, you know, I'm taking maybe 50 trades, whereas some people are taking one trade.
Yeah.
And that just, it's a numbers game is what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people cannot appreciate the fact that when you think about, oh, you just locked in 7, 8, 10, 15 points. So like, that's nothing, you know? And then like afterwards, NQ does 200 points on those trend days, 300 points.
Right.
The thing is like, you can re-enter, right? I mean, once you sell an account, you re-enter, you manage your risk. If you manage your risk that way, then if you blow an account, you blow an account. Because I don't know if you guys heard it, Steve actually has a business, right? So he has a business with window cleaning and a bunch of other stuff. Now, obviously, a lot of traders that I interview, they have like an entrepreneurial spirit, right? And it's true, you know, if you don't have a team that can end up doing the work, I mean, you always got to pivot. In business, you got to pivot. You know, if business slows down because of COVID or whatever, you do something else. So this is why I think it's really important, guys, to have a business, have some kind of income. When I first started, like almost 9 years ago, actually more than 9 years ago now, like if I didn't have the business income that I told you guys all the time, I wouldn't have weathered the $50,000 loss in the first 2 months. So I think that's a key thing that people can pick up from your story, Steve, is that, you know, you had income, right? You knew going in that you can spend this amount of money and it's like business expense, right? So, but to me, I actually have no idea what range charts are. Okay, so I'm going to learn something from you today. And if you can break it down for us, show us some screen and stuff.
I do want to say something though. You make a great point, and I've fought this battle with myself, and I still consistently fight this battle with myself. I do truly believe that having an additional source of income is extremely important. 100%. You don't want to go put all your eggs in one basket and then basically, you know, drain, like you said, and what your story is, the kids' education fund, right? And
yeah.
You don't want to do that. That's something that you don't want to do. You want to have a steady income. But sometimes, and everybody's different, everyone's personality is different, everyone's heart's in a different place, everyone's mind's in a different place. Sometimes having that extra job or having that steady income actually ends up holding people back. In my situation, what I find is that I sometimes don't take trading as seriously as I should because I'm really good at it. I know that I am. I have an 80, 90, 95% win rate. But the problem is when I lose those trades, I sit there and say, well, it doesn't matter. I could just go buy a new account because I have the money to do so. And that right there is a downfall of mine because I know that I'm relying on this business income that I have to be able to basically as a crutch. Now, if I didn't have that business income, I might take trading a little bit more serious. So you gotta kind of have to balance it out is what you have to do if you really want to be successful at this game. And really, like you said, it's a game because we don't control the markets. We know who controls the markets. The market makers control the markets, and we just have to learn to play in their system. And it's getting harder and harder with the algorithms. It really is. But the whole point of that is that, yes, having additional income is important. I do 100% agree. But looking at that and falling back on that could be detrimental to someone's growth.
Yeah, so it's kind of like what I'm hearing is being self-aware, which is a really, really important part in trading. If you know that, for example, like most of you guys have not locked in 230 grand like Steve did, right? So if he knows, okay, I can lock in 230 grand, I already know my strategy is kind of working, and he doesn't want to be in a spot where he's kind of like gambling because he had that, you know, background where doing sports betting, okay, I can just go, you know, like bet more. Like, I'm not saying like, okay, have a job so you can just treat it as like a casino. It's like, okay, if you're still learning, let's say you're brand into trading, you never have a strategy, and you haven't taken out, like Steve, 230K in payouts, then yeah, having a source of income is going to help you, not so that you can bet more, but so that while you're learning, you're paying that tuition. So I think it's a great point, like just having a balance. If you know that you're already taking payouts, sometimes in a DM, I told people, hey, I think you're ready to just do this full time, but not everyone is like that. A lot of people are just starting. So find out where you are in your journey right now. If you're brand new learning, don't like quit your high paying job of like 120 grand a year to scalp, you know, but if you're like doing Steve, you know, like getting 200 grand paid already, maybe, you know, eventually make that your full-time thing. You have to kind of really think about where you're at personally and being self-aware, and that's really important. So,
and actually, with that being said, so I was actually in the process of selling my company this past July. I was supposed to close on it. You had the buyers, my employees were the buyers.
Nice.
And I was actually going to trade full-time. Basically, that's what I was going to do. I was going to take a lot of that money that I was making from the sale, I was going to invest it into certain different avenues, and then I was just going to trade this prop game full-time. But, you know, God had different plans, and the buyout kind of fell through. And actually, at this point in time, I see why now, because I know I wasn't ready. Mentally, I thought I was ready, and in my heart, I thought I was ready. but I wasn't ready. So it just, at the end of the day, you know, you just always have to follow God's plans for you. And don't ignore that calling, that, you know, what's being told to you through the Holy Spirit. Do not ignore that at all.
Amen, brother. This is the power of community. We can talk money, we can talk trading, and yet one thing in the community is that we always know that God is part of it. He's not just a small piece of it. He is above all things that we do, right? And, you know, sometimes we're guilty of it. I'm guilty of it many times, you know. We don't put God first in the center thing. But when you realize that everything happens because of Him giving us grace, then, you know, what else can we do than to go back and acknowledge Him and thank Him? So appreciate you bringing that up, bro.
Yeah, and that's how I found you as well. I mean, it was dumb luck. You know, I started getting back involved in my faith probably about a good 7-8 months ago. And once my kids were born, you know, I always had that part-time relationship with God, but it was only part-time. You know, it was only, hey, what's up, God? How you doing? I need a little bit of help today. Can you help me out? And then once I saw what life was about, once my children were born, you know, I have 2 of them now. I have a 3-year-old and I have a 3-month-old.
Wow.
So, you know, my life in the past 4 years has changed drastically. And now I realize more what life is about, and I got my faith back. And I just happened to be on a Discord and saw someone come across a Christian YouTube streamer. And I was like, in trading? I was like, get out of here. Because I'm not going to lie. Listen, I've watched some other streamers, you know, the BDH and everything like that, you know, Patrick Whelan. It's entertainment. I get it. It's entertainment. But there's a lot of stuff going on there that, you know, a lot of words that you don't want to be hearing. Your kids don't want to be in the same room as you when you're watching that, basically. So I found you, and then next thing you know, I'm just like, listen to this guy. He has a message. He says a prayer at the end of the session. I mean, this is some powerful stuff right here. And, you know, you got a growing community. It's just powerful because, you know, just to change the life of one person, basically you are a disciple. You are a disciple of Christ right now, my friend. And what you're doing it's what you're being called to do.
Yeah, that's what we're all trying to be, right? Just to follow Jesus one day at a time in the midst of our flaws, in the midst of our sin, and just walk with Him. And you know, I never imagined that a community could be as such, because like we literally have people who message me and said that he hung himself on a rope. Somehow it broke through. It didn't kill him. He was at the hospital and somehow my stream popped up. Or some random guy praying, and he started to regain his faith, and so many stories like that. You know, 7 or 8 months, come back to your faith. And to be honest, like this is just all the community. We look at the community every day. You know, people just coming there praying for each other in the Discord. I mean, this is all by God's doing. So I'm just so happy. On top of the fact that we can talk money, we can talk trading, and the fact that we can connect together in faith, man. So that's really encouraging, bro. I really appreciate it.
It's just not about the Lamborghinis. It's not about the McLarens. It's not about the Maseratis. And it's not about the Rolex watches. I mean, all that stuff is good and all, you know, but guess what? At the end of the day, you can't take it with you when you're gone.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
That's so good. So let's pivot here now on your strategy, because I think people want to know, okay, so you're a scalper, your trading is about 15 to 20 seconds, and you do it on a range chart. I don't even know what that is. Can you break it down for us? Can you share the screen?
All right, so let me just give you what's going on here.
Okay.
The right-hand side, this chart right here. This is a full screen. This is what's known as an 89 range chart.
Okay.
So with NQ, a range basically is that each one of these candles is not going to print until you have broken a certain range, whether it be high or whether it be low. Okay. So with NQ, you take 89 and you divide it by 4 because there's 4 ticks in 1 point. And that gives you, each one of these candles is roughly around, I think it's 22 points. Let's just see here.
Is this a 1 minute chart or what is this?
No, this is a range chart. Range.
Oh, so it's not time dependent then?
No, not time dependent at all.
Okay.
So this is an 89 range, and for some reason, I don't know why we can't see the price over here. It's probably because the market's closed. But each one of these bars, whether it be an up bar or a down bar, is roughly 22 points. So if you just take 89, divide that by 4, because you basically have 4 ticks in 1 point. So that will give you, before each one of these can print, you have to basically exceed 22 points. So I use this more so for my, let's just call it higher time frame structure.
Okay.
And then what I do is I'm using 89 range for more so structure. That's my higher time frame. I'm also using a 1 minute and I'm using a 15 second. And what you're seeing here, these boxes are basically just fair value gaps is what they are. I know price is likely going to return back to these areas before making a leg higher. That's just the way that fair value gaps work. That's why they're powerful in nature. And if you don't know what a fair value gap is for most of the people watching, basically it's a 3 candle signature of an expansive candle and the range in between the top wick and the bottom wick of the other candle. Mm-hmm. So long story short, let's just get in here. This is a fair value gap right here. And it was created by this candle. So basically this expansive candle, and then the lower wick of the second candle and the top wick of the first candle. So this is the fair value gap. So eventually what you're going to probably find is that when the market probably opens again, if we're going to retrace it all, we're probably going to retrace back into this area. You know, it's all kind of the same stuff at the end of the day is what we're getting at. But I'm using this and I'm paying attention to this as well because price is going to retrace back into these areas. I know that. And the same thing goes as follows. If there's fair value gaps above price, then you're most likely going to start getting rejections in these fair value gaps. You know, price will basically get up to this.
Do you draw them yourself or do you have some kind of indicator on the Tradeovate to do that?
So I have an indicator on Tradeovate, and Tradeovate was horrible for indicators. I mean, you couldn't find anything. And I was searching, which was right around the same time I started taking all these payouts, and which was right around the same time I learned about the range charts. I was really struggling. And then with these indicators, they automatically populate on your chart now. So they're there. Okay, this right here is the 1 minute chart. You don't want to ever have fair value gaps on the range chart because your whole chart would basically be cluttered in these boxes. I'm using this as confluence. I'm using the 1 minute as confluence. I'm using the 15-second or 30-second as confluence.
Okay, so this is a 1 minute chart. And then what about the range chart? Because that's the one that where I was kind of really confused.
Right. So since I can't find my setup here, I'm going to have to just basically go to what I'm working on right here. All right. This is not perfected. This is just a general overview of what I do and how I do it. Okay. So this is a 22 range chart. Once again, 22, you divide that by 4.
So whenever you make a number, you divide it by 4 and then a candle will print. Last time you said it was 89 chart divided by 4, so it moves 22 points. This one, 22 divided by 4 and moves 5 points. It prints a candle every 5 points.
That's correct. It will print the candle every 5 points. Same thing. So there's a 44. You know, the ones that I use 22, 44, 89. I look at them religiously for my range.
Okay.
So now what you're seeing, these lines right here, okay, these are Keltner channels. They're not your traditional, I guess if you want to call them periods, right? So these are Keltners. There's 2 of them here. The reds, this red dashed line is a 33 period, 3.5 multiplier. The blue is a 33 period 2 multiplier. My strategy is extremely simple. Let's just take this. Here's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Here's your range chart, right? So you're getting a sell-off. You have a bar which basically breaks the Keltner channel and closes back inside. Here's your long right back to the middle.
Where's your entry though? Do you long it on the, you know,
right here.
What? Okay. Right on the second candle. So like a breakout of the second candle.
Yeah, or, I mean, I've gotten to the point now where I know, just from experience, you kind of know when it's going to go and when it's not going to go, because believe me, there's lots of times. Now, I'm also using stochastics, and I'm looking for divergences as well, but stochastic in a 913 and a 6110, so they're not your traditional stochastics. Right here is a perfect example of a stochastic divergence. This right here, this would have been a stochastic divergence. So you would have took this long right here, but you wouldn't have got back to your middle, so this would have been a losing trade. But if you just would have waited 4 minutes, you would have had a very winning trade. But this would have been a stochastic divergence right here.
So it's kind of like a mean reversion trade. You're looking for like something that snaps out of the channel and then just snaps back in there.
Yep. And here's another perfect example for a short. Now, I said these are extremely powerful because look at this right here. Let's just take from 3:15 today until 3:30 today.
Yeah.
You would basically would have had 3 trades. It popped out of the channel, came back right in. Here's your 604 to 598. So 6 points. So you would have had 6 points right there.
Yeah.
You would have had another 6 points right here. You would have had another 6 points right here. So within a 15-minute period, you would have had 18 points. But here's what's powerful about this. Your stop loss is this. Your stop loss is this. Your stop loss is this.
Okay.
So you have literally a 6-point stop loss. You're going for a 1-for-1, but a lot of the times, and this just comes with experience, a lot of these times, these trades are running for 30, 40, 50 points. You just kind of have to know when it's going to do it, and you're using the stochastics for that.
It's good that you mentioned that because I was just going to ask you, what about when we expand on the right side? You know, those straight up green candles, like do you add into your trades or you just take the loss? Because these straight up green candles, they didn't pull back when they're out of the channel, right? So.
Yeah, you're exactly correct. So let's just say you would have entered in this short right here.
Okay.
Okay, so let's zoom this in. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen on the right here. Now, hindsight says, okay, we're getting close to close. We're probably going to pump. We've been down all day, right? But say you're following your strategy and You're coming up, you have a candle which basically pokes itself outside the first band, but then closes back inside the band. So that is a valid short entry. You're basically selling, and your take profit is this line right here. So you're looking at roughly to get 6 to 8 points.
Okay.
But what happens here is it never hits. So your stop loss has to be here, because if not, this is what could happen.
Right. So you don't add to your trades then. You just take one size, is that right? Or how do you do it?
Well, when I don't trade stupid, I don't add to my when I don't trade stupid, I don't add to my trades. But when I do trade stupid, then yes, I do add to my trades. So there, and that's how I have blown so many accounts DCAing this move right here.
I blew up 2 accounts today at the end of the day trying to add into it. So tell me about that.
I have blown so many accounts doing it. But if you just follow the system, I mean, it prints. So let me take the actual strategy off and just look at the indicator, because it cleans things up a lot.
Okay.
But now, under the hood, you have to know where price is at. I mean, you can't just go into this blind. I mean, you could, but as a trader, you kind of have to know, like in this example right here, that this was probably the top of a fair value gap, and this was probably the middle of a fair value gap. So what happened right here? Well, everybody thought that price was going to reverse right here. They bought. Of course, it went up 15 points. The next thing you know, you get stopped out. And then it makes its real move. And this happens constantly on NQ.
Yep.
And it's so noticeable on the range charts. Like, here's another quick example. This would have been a divergence, I could tell you just by looking at it. Everybody thinks, okay, we hit the top band. We think everyone's basically reversing. Well, we didn't. So what happens? You're at 606. You go up an additional 4 points, and then a decent move occurs.
Can you confirm again what the yellow middle line is and the 2 blue lines are? Because I know you say you got a stochastic and the Kelter channel. So if people want to pull this strategy, let's say they do the 22R, like what do they add on the chart?
Okay, so here is basically, this is what you're looking at. So this would be your Keltner channels. Now, these are 2 different bands here, so don't pay attention to this. But let me just give you an example. Okay, so the blue line is Keltner channel with a period of 33.
Okay.
And a multiplier of 2. That's all you need to know for your Keltner channels. 33 period, which basically is the moving average.
So did you use this same strategy for your Tradeify payout where you spent $2K to make like 119,000? Like, was it similar or something different?
It was very similar to this, as I've been trying to perfect this for a very long time.
Okay.
And yes, but that's what I've been doing. I mean, I've been doing this now for a while.
Okay.
But the problem is, like you said, the problem is very simple. If you just stick to the script, yes, you're going to have losing trades. It's inevitable. Yeah. The good thing about it is you're only going to have, in most cases, a 6 to 10 point stop loss.
Right.
So you're going to have a lot more wins than you're going to have losses in this. And being that it's 1-to-1, you're probably going to have about a 70 to 80% win rate, assuming you follow the strategy. And when you don't follow the strategy, this is what happens. And like it happens to me, you get caught in these moves. Yep. And then next thing you know, your 6-point stop loss turns into a 60-point stop loss, and then that turns into a blown account.
Yep.
It's just it's just the way it is. That's just how NQ moves. But if you follow this strategy and you sit there and go, okay, we poke out of the band, next candle that closes right back inside that band, I'm taking a short and I'm riding it to the middle line. Get out. Simple as that.
How many contracts do you take, like on MNQ? I know you trade MNQ on your chart.
Yep, I trade MNQ. So basically what I like to do is I like to trade, and it depends what the account size is. Okay. But normally I like to do 30.
Okay, so why not just take 3 minis then?
Because what I'm sometimes doing, which I haven't gotten to yet, is I'm letting some of these runners run.
Ah, sure.
See, so if you take 3, right? So, you know, I want to take a majority of my profits at this middle line, right? Okay. That's what I want to do. But there's going to be many times where that middle line right there, like that, breaks. Yeah. And instead of getting your 8 points, let's just say you would have bought here at 616, you would have got out at 608, you are now getting an additional 30 points out of that.
Gotcha. So basically trying to trail it on the bigger trades. That makes sense.
Yeah, but just with a couple contracts left. I know for a pure fact that I'm going to get 6 to 8 points every single time I take one of these trades. Okay. So I'm going to lock in the 6 to 8 points. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to trail a couple with, say, like 2 contracts left, 3 contracts left, and see what more I can get. And then if something doesn't work out, well, then what I'll do is I'll still have 3 contracts on the board, but I know very quickly I'll be able to probably take another one of these trades to try to then, instead of taking 30, then I'll buy in at 27, but I'll still have 30.
Okay.
So it's a system you got to learn. And a lot of the times I'm using an ATM, basically is what I'm using.
Okay.
So it's already set.
Gotcha.
It's already set. Now, you had said something to me about group trading, and I did group trade. I used to group trade. A lot of those Apex payouts that you saw when we first started the stream here,
Yeah.
that was all group trading. But since I met you, I don't group trade anymore. And to be honest with you, it saved me a lot of money.
There you go. I learned the hard way too, man. Copy trading.
Yeah.
When you say you met me, when was that? When you stopped copy trading?
Yeah, about 4 months ago, man.
4 months ago.
4
So
months.
I learned the hard way because, you know, I would just look at these gurus. They're like, yo, bro, like they're locking 1 million, 500,000, and they're like copy trading 20 accounts. And I'm like, what am I doing trading 1 account? I try to copy them and it worked for maybe 6 days, 7 days. And inevitably, like, I don't know, like on day 4, day 5, day 8, before the payout, boom, one bad trade you add into it, blows up everything. So because of those experiences, I don't do it anymore. I know some people do way better, but I just couldn't do it. Like, in fact, SMC recently talked about he group trades it with another strategy on another interview, but he's testing out the maths. If you have like a 1.5 to 1 risk reward ratio with about a 70% win rate, then actually group trading could work. But other than that, and he's still testing it out. But I think for most people, like you said, it's not a good idea. It saves a lot of money not to group trade because, you know, you just blow everything up, multiply by 10 or 20, right? So
it does. You're 100% correct.
Yeah.
So this is actually, as I said, what I've been doing. And when you actually have these charts in front of you, when you can go back and back test and look at these things, it's going to open up a whole nother world of opportunities for you because you're going to see things differently. It's not the 1 minute chart. I mean, this is quick entries, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. You're taking a lot of trades. And, you know, you're only trying to get 6 to 8 and sometimes 10 points out of it.
Yeah.
But they're at, like, if you're looking like right here, as I said, you know, here's, you know, 1 trade, 2 trades that worked, 3 trades that worked. Here's a long that went the opposite way that worked, 4 trades, 5 trades that worked. So right there, there's your 30 points in a 20-minute period.
And the good thing about this range chart, I can imagine, especially if you set it to a higher range, is you avoid the chop. Because like on the 1 minute chart, when it's chopping around, let's say today it chopped like sideways for half an hour to an hour, then this chart won't print, right? Because it only prints when it breaks out of a 4-point range because it's a 22 range chart, right? So you kind of see when it's chopping around and when it's not chopping around.
Yeah, basically what I try to tell people is I'm actually scalping 1 minute candles. Imagine that. I'm scalping 1 minute candles, whereas most people are taking scalps off of the 1 minute candles. And I'm scalping 1 minute candles. That's the power of this. Because, I mean, as we know, some 1 minute candles go for 30, 40, 50 points.
Yep.
But, you know, you talk a lot about the ATR, which is very important in this as well.
Yep.
If you only have an ATR of 10 on the 1 minute charts, you're not going to want to even be looking for 6 points on this. You're going to want to only be looking for 3, 4 points max. The volatility is very important in this.
Yep.
Volume is very important in this. Like, this doesn't work really well in overnight sessions. I mean, the concept works well, but you're not going to get the moves as quick, and you're going to second guess a lot of the things. And a lot of the times you're still going to be right, but it's going to be, you know, it's tough watching it all play out because the system is the system, but the system does work when you utilize it properly.
You know, on the right side here where the chart's going down, right? So your system requires it to snap back in first, or do you just try to long it to snap back in the middle? On the trend down day or trend up day, you can take a stop loss, but where would you re-enter after you take the loss? Like on this sell-off here.
So this sell-off right here, this is a perfect example. So if I'm trading this, so the first thing that I'm looking for is I'm anticipating that we are going to try to break this blue line and then we're going to close back inside.
Okay.
However, if we do not close back inside, the next thing I'm looking for is if we break the red line, which is the same exact Keltner channel, it just has a different multiplier. Instead of it being 2, it's 3.5. So I'm looking for a break of this and then a close back in. So in reality, I would have taken this trade. And I wouldn't be shooting for this. I would only be shooting for the 2. I'd be shooting for the blue line.
Okay.
I would have taken this trade. But if this wouldn't have worked out, then my stop loss would have been right there.
And then when would you enter back in? I almost can't even see the red line, to be honest. It's the dotted red line, very, very faint.
Yeah, let me do this.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there we go.
So these, as I said, these are 2 channels.
Okay.
Basically, they just have different multipliers. One is a 3.5. The other one is a 2. So 3.5 on the reds, 2 on the blues. And that's why the yellow line, this orange, is still the same for both of them, because that's a 33. So it's a 33 moving, in reality, what it is a 33 moving average period. So this right here would have been a loss, because I would have taken this trade and I would have had my stop loss right here. I would have been shooting for that, but this would have been a loss. So you would have had a 6-point loss on that.
You required the candle to go back inside the red first before you take a trade,
correct.
or else all the sell off, you keep taking stop loss.
That's
away
100% correct. You have to come back in. So this right here, if you would have taken this trade, so we're outside the red, we're outside the blue.
Yeah.
And so all we have right now is just Keltner channels. We're outside the red, we're outside the blue.
Okay.
You need a close, and it has to be a green close, back in for a long.
Okay.
This right here, this signal bar at 130, this is a valid long.
Okay.
And you would have gotten out of this 624 to 634. You would have gotten 10 points. But say you just would have shot the blue line, you would have gotten 4 points out of that. Now here is the more powerful one. And what I mean by more powerful, if I put my stochastics down here, you would see that this is actually going to be a stochastic divergence. And this is the one where you really want to take. Because what occurs here is you get your out, back in solid close, and you're pretty much, I don't want to call it engulfing, but you kind of are, because since they're range bars, it's kind of tough to engulf a full candle because you'll never do it because they're all the same amount of points.
Okay.
But what you did here, see the difference between this bar and this bar? This bar wicked down below, but didn't close at or above the open of the prior bar. This bar right here wicks below, but pretty much closes almost dead even with the prior bar.
Okay.
At that point in time, I know that this is going to be a pretty powerful move.
Okay. So it's kind of like probably like a hammer on the chart when it shows a big reversal hammer. So would you ever like do anything in the middle, like on that orange line? Would you ever short it? Or if you short, you have to be on the upper red line or upper blue line, and then buy will have to be at the lower. You never do anything in the middle then, right?
That's correct. I never diddle in the middle. Nope,
Okay.
Don't diddle in the middle at all. Basically, as I said, like you nailed it. Shorts, outside in, you're looking for the yellow line.
Okay.
Longs, outside in, you're looking for the yellow line. Now, what people need to know is, as I said, so this is a sell-off right here. Like you said, this move right here was the break of this range, and 668 down to 602. So that's a 66-point sell-off.
Yeah.
At that point in time, you know you're, like you said, and when you trade, you know you're going to get a decent move back up.
Right.
So that was probably a 30, maybe 25, 30-point move back up just from people trying to buy that. Basically, maybe it was liquidity grab. I don't know what it was. But the system, once you understand it, the system works. When you follow the system, it works. When you don't follow the system is when it becomes a nightmare. You're just basically, it's a crapshoot at that point in time. You're back to gambling.
Yeah. It seems pretty simple. Basically mean reversion, put on the two indicators and use the range chart. That's nice. I'm glad you got something like basically works for you. Do you prefer a specific amount of capital in the accounts? Like do you buy 25K accounts, 50K, 150Ks? What's your preference for this?
My preference, because I trade with size, is 150K or higher. I do have a couple 50Ks. What I'll do is with 50K, I'll normally just do 10 of them, and I'll take 7 at the first profit point, and then I'll try to let 3 run. That's what I'll do. Okay.
So for the 150Ks, you do 30 micros, and then at the middle, you take off the majority and trail a few if it goes lower. And basically just rinse and repeat. Do you find that this strategy on like trend days, like back then when we had like a straight down day or a straight pump day, mean reversion, like I'm a mean reversion trader, so I understand the strategy, but on days when it goes straight down, I hate it. On days, when it goes straight up, I'm trying to short, I hate it as well. So like, how do you adjust on days when it's just like one direction, not much of mean reversion?
With this strategy, you're really scalping 1 minute candles. So you're only looking for 4 to 6 points, in some cases 8. You're going to get that regardless of what, but you just need to know when to enter and when not to. And that's why I'm using, let me bring this over here. So here's your stochastics, okay? This is what I mean by when you're staying away from shorts. So this is on the 1 minute chart. When this does this on the 22 range or the 44 range, when you see your stochastic up like this, you are staying away from shorts, staying away. And this is your shorter term stochastic. This is your 913. And what I mean by divergences with this, some people don't have any idea what a divergence is, but here's a perfect example. Of course, we're on the 1 minute chart, but you're not going to get as many. See how your stochastic's up here?
Yep.
And you're pretty much oversold. You are not taking any shorts until this begins to break down. You can keep trying to short this for 4 to 6 points all the time. You're going to get blown up. So any single time this is up here and hovering up here, you cannot be taking any shorts.
Doesn't that show overbought? Like, why is it oversold on the upside?
I'm sorry. I overbought. Yes.
Oh, okay,
Overbought
okay.
And yeah. This is overbought. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But if it's overbought, why wouldn't you short it?
Until this starts to curl down.
Oh, okay.
You're not. It's on the range chart. As if you can get 50 rolling divergences up here on this lower time frame stochastic.
Okay.
Which this is a 913. This is a 6110. This is comparable to the 5-minute chart. This is comparable to the 1-minute chart.
Okay.
You can get multiple divergences. Let me just show you all these divergences that you're going to have here. And I'll give you a better example. So here's the divergence that you're looking for, basically. So you have this high, and you have a higher high in price, but you have a lower low on your stochastic. And then basically you know that once it breaks that, you could ride this down.
Yeah, I think you broke down the gist of your strategy, which is amazing. It's pretty simple, the way that you execute it. How about psychology? Like, obviously, the buy here, sell here, put on the indicator there. What would you say is like the top 2 factors in terms of psychology that hinders you from advancing better and taking more payouts, and versus 1 or 2 that are really good, that helps you just stay in the game and lock in those profits?
I can tell you right now.
Okay.
When I'm stuck in my scalping mentality, I'm stuck in my 4 to 6, 8, 10 points. There are so many times where I enter trades that I get my 4 to 6, 8, 10 points and then watch them go to 40, 60, 80, 100 points. And that right there is the difference between a $2,000 payout every single day and a $20,000 payout every single day. And when you could learn to know when those moves are going to happen and trust when those moves are going to happen, but more importantly, know when those moves are not going to happen. That's going to be what separates the men from the boys in the trading world, because, we can get $2,000, $3,000 payouts every single day. And that's great and all, it's, whatever, $10,000, $15,000 a week. But like you said, some of these gurus are doing $1.5, $2 million a month. What are they doing that we're not is the question.
Yeah.
It's just that they have probably seen their setups hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands upon thousands of times. And they just trust them and they know, okay, well, I'm willing to risk $5,000 on this day. If my setup doesn't work, I'm out $5,000. If it works, I'm going to make $50,000. And that's just how they go into every single day. Whereas with scalping, with maybe what you and I are doing, it's a little bit different because we're taking so many trades where we don't really have that, okay, when is it not a good time to take a trade? And that kind of is a downfall, I know, to my trading. But the biggest thing that is the downfall to my trading is what you simply asked. What would I have done in this situation right here?
Yeah.
If I could limit this, in fact, I just did it today on 3 of my funding tick accounts.
Okay.
And those I actually am group trading. They are the 0 accounts, so I paid decent money for them, and they're like already at $4,000. I have to make $2,000 more and I have to trade for 3 more days in order to be able to take payouts. But I got caught in this move right here today at open. I got caught in this move right here, and I didn't follow my strategy. And what I kept doing is I kept DCAing. And this time I got lucky. I ended up $1,200 in profit on each account, but it was this time. And I need to stop doing that as a trader and as someone who wants to be successful in this game long term. You need to stop doing that. You need to cut your losses, and you need to realize when and when not to trade. I'm not there yet as a person. I'm not there yet as a professional. My hope and my prayer is that as I experience more of this, that one day I will eventually be there, because they say, you can't fix something that's not broken, but it's tough to fix something that is broken if you don't fix it to begin with.
Yeah, and so discipline is a very, very important trait that traders need. I mean, adding into a losing trade is not foreign to just you or to me and to everybody else. And obviously, as you said, like with scalping, the good news is that you get higher win rates, but you do miss out on those bigger trades where, NQ goes down 1,000 points that day and the guru holds it for 800 points where maybe I held it for 80 points. So that's the downside of that. But also on the flip side, for someone newer, scalping can also be helping them to regain their confidence or with more wins, rotating accounts. So you have to really know where you are in your trading journey, what your style is, whether you're an aggressive trader, and kind of find one that works for you. What works for, Steve, or what works for me may not work for you, right? And
that's
for
the biggest thing.
Yeah, and for a lot of you guys, it does work for you. In the Discord, a lot of you guys are taking payouts. You've never been able to take it, but because you're scalping now, rotating, not copy trading now works for you. So you have to figure out, okay, does this work for me? Does this range chart work for me? Does scalping work for me? If it does, great. Keep doing it. Manage your risk. Have the discipline. And if not, you can try something else, right? But I always like to ask people this, Steve. Obviously, you found some success in trading and you're trying to scale it up and do even more than that. If you were to go back in 2023 when you first started and you have no clue about trading, what would you tell yourself back then when you first started trading? Because there are a lot of people who are going to listen to this. They are brand new. What do you think is the thing that's going to shortcut your way into your success? What would you tell your younger self and to these people who are brand new?
No one can teach you how to trade. You have to find the system that works for you. You have to find what your risk parameters are. You have to find how much capital you want to make a day, and you want to find how much capital you're willing to basically lose a day. And yes, there are gurus out there. There are teachers out there who can steer you in the right directions, provide you with their strategies, provide you with what they do, how they do it, and what type of success that they're having. But at the end of the day, you have to push the button. You have to know when to buy, you have to know when to sell, you have to know when to hold them, and you have to know when to fold them. And until you understand that as an individual, then trading is going to be extremely, extremely hard for you. The other thing that's very important that I would say is that I think we're all guilty of it, especially the newbies in the game. Strategy hopping. It works one day, it works for a week, it works for 2 weeks, then all of a sudden it doesn't work, and then we go onto YouTube. We try to find the best strategy in Kelly with the best indicators and the trading view indicators and a 99% win rate and a this win rate and a that win rate. And here I am right in front of me on a trading view with this indicator, which, as I said, I have created, but this is just to help me out. But I would just say find something that works for you and stick to it. But take a course. And I haven't personally taken your course, FSP, but I know many people on the Discord and on the community that have taken it and have nothing but success out of it. So what I would advise people to do is to spend a little bit of money. Don't do what I did. Go out and spend thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. Probably I'm all about $20,000 on courses. I mean, I think yours is probably under $400 or $500 at this point in time.
Yeah, $250. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know your success. So I'm going to tell people who are watching this right now, buy this man's course because he will save you a lot of headache in what not to do. But at the end of the day, you have to push the button.
Yeah, and even if you guys don't buy the course, it's totally fine. I live stream for free every day with my strategy. And I think one thing really important that Steve mentioned is screen time, right? No one can teach you how to trade in no one's going to click the button for you. If you have some service saying they're going to pass your account, just run away, right? It's not a long-term strategy. And it's like the reason why we see, for example, skydiving, something I probably never do. But when you see someone jumps off and do the flip, have you ever skydived?
I have not. You won't catch me doing it. No,
yeah, so there you go. The reason why we see all these videos, people on the GoPros and they're jumping off from Red Bull cameras, whatever, they've done this so many times. They're doing backflips in the air. It's like they've done it 1,000 times, right? Versus someone who's brand new. Before they go, they're going to be screaming and they're shaking. It's like trading. When you first started, you don't know if you should click buy or not, especially if it's a real account. But once you start taking more trades, once you start scalping, you try to dial down the strategy and you have more screen time, then you start realizing, you know what? It's not that bad. I got some money coming in, and then you start figuring out your process. And once you do, you kind of stick with it and you don't go back. So I know we've talked for about an hour so far, quite a bit of time, but I do want to get your opinion on something, your feedback. Obviously, you joined us for a few months now. Our community, we always want to just do it better, right? Something that works, we want to do more of that. Something that maybe we can do more of, we want to know that as well. So with you being in the community in the past 4 months, what are some things that you notice and how do you think we can improve it to really help other traders in the group?
Well, to be completely honest with you, I've watched a lot of different streams. You make things entertaining enough to a point, but you're also serious enough to a point where you're trying to get across. And I understand, at the end of the day, people are not supposed to copy your trades. That's not what you're there doing. You're basically there showing them how you do it so that they can learn how to do it themselves.
Right.
I don't really think that there's anything that you can do to improve. I really don't. I'm being dead honest with you. I wanted to say something when you asked me about what if I can go back in my younger self 3 years ago when I first started this journey. There's one thing I want to tell people too. This isn't get rich quick scheme, okay? This is not get rich quick. This is not go to the local convenience store, buy a lottery ticket, scratch it off, and expect to make $300,000 in your first week, okay?
Yep.
This is a life skill. You are creating something that you can take with you for the rest of your life. There is no worry about retirement anymore. There is no worry about not having enough income to retire if you can learn this skill. If you're a single mother that stays at home and watches the kids, this is perfect for you. If you are a real estate agent, if you're any type of person that works, any type of person that, trading futures, you can trade basically 5 days a week, 23 hours a day. Okay, there's opportunities for everyone, but this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is a life skill that you are going to be learning, and don't expect it to occur overnight. And maybe for some of you it will. And I wish you the best, and God bless you if that's the case. But just like with anything, you're going to have to put in your tuition, and the market tuition does cost money. And just know that you will have to lose money in order to make money. And then even when you start making money, you will have to lose money in order to start making more money. The goal is that you're slowly making more and more money, and then also losing less and less money over time. That's just the way this game is going to roll. It's going to be that way forever.
Yeah, just being that green is the goal of every trader eventually. There'll be ups, there'll be downs, just like in life. We have ups and downs. In our spiritual walk, there's ups and downs. And before we wrap up, and I'm going to ask you how people can get in touch with you, you mentioned your spiritual journey a little bit. I'm curious if you're open. I'm kind of putting you on the spot. Can you give us like a couple minutes of your testimony with your journey with God? Because a lot of people in our community, they're traders. Some of them maybe like you to kind of walk away from God, or some are coming back in, or some are really strong in their faith. Like, what's your particular journey like, if you don't mind sharing, to, really encourage people? Like, we're not just about trading money. That's good. But, there's a big God element there.
So, I grew up, I went to Catholic school. So I grew up in a Catholic environment. I was an altar boy. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Once I started to get into my teens and early 20s, and when I learned about what the Catholic priests were doing and such, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It kind of like threw me for a loop. And I was just like, well, how can people of God be so evil? And I kind of got away from religion. There wasn't anything about, Catholicism or whatever. It was just, I just got away from religion in general. And even though I was a very successful young man, I had a very successful business, I also was an alcoholic. I drank religiously every day of the night, or every day of the week, for a long period of time. And then one day in 2019, it was January 2nd, I made a commitment to myself, to no one else, to myself, that I was going to get sober. And in doing so, that's what really opened my eyes, because I couldn't do that alone. And I prayed on it, and it worked, and I'm still sober to this day. The problem is, that's when I was a part-time friend. I started getting my faith back then, but it was still only part-time. It was still only, hey, thanks, the prayers, I need this, or I need that, or please keep me sober for this sacrifice, or this journey, or this wedding that we have to go to, or this type period.
Yeah.
And then really it wasn't until my son was born, because I'll be the first to admit, I'm a very selfish person. And I didn't want children up until the day that he was born, which was July 4th of 2022. I'm a very patriotic person in the United States. That's the 4th of July. That's country's birthday.
Yeah.
And he wasn't supposed to be born on the 4th of July. He was supposed to be born on the 25th of June. But I had it in my heart and mind that he was going to be born on the 4th of July. And I told people that. And guess what? He was born on the 4th of July. When that occurred, I just knew something was up. I knew that I always knew there was a higher power, but I was just like, wow, is he trying to tell me something? Is this guy up above trying to tell me something? And then he was born, and I started realizing what life was at that point in time. That's when as a 40 at that point in time, that's when I realized what life was. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the fame. It wasn't about going out drinking every night, buying the bar shots, being the cool guy in town, spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 at a bar just because I could. Man. It wasn't about that. It was about seeing what the gift of life was about. And once I saw that gift of life, once I saw him born, once I heard his cries, that's when my journey with Jesus started again. And then, we had a miscarriage in 2017. And I said to my wife, I said, if it was meant to be, we'll have a child. And we did, of course, basically 5 years later, which once again, looking back on this now, I knew that God had a bigger plan, because I wasn't ready for a child in 2017. I was still heavily drinking. There is no possible way I would have been able to be the father that I am today if that child was born in 2017. God had other plans. So then he's born in 2022. I'm sober. Everything's fantastic. We're living life. And then we have another miscarriage. My wife wanted to basically have another child. I, once again, being the selfish me, already 2 years into this with a child that we've already raised, said, no, we don't need another child. I want to spoil this one. But she was like, no, I want another child. I said, okay. I said, well, hey, it's up to God at this point in time. It's not up to me. It's not up to you. You know, we could try to do whatever we want, but if he doesn't want us to have a child, then we're not going to have a child. Well, lo and behold, we had the miscarriage. And then 12 months later, we had a child. So, and she was just born. So now we got our boy, which is 3 years old. And now we have our girl, which is 3 months old. So my journey with God as my savior is truly just, in my opinion, just starting. I mean, it's been there, but this is the start of something epic, something special that's going to go on, not just part-time. This is a full-time commitment. This is something that I know that I now need to do as a man, as a father, as a husband, because I need to save myself so I can help them be saved as well. We're all saved. We just need to understand that.
What a powerful journey. I'm sorry to hear about your loss, but the journey that you had with God and what he gave you back in return is truly something that's miraculous. And I think a lot of people, just listening to you talk, bro, I mean, I just feel like a lot of people are going to resonate with your story, because it's just, whenever we talk about religion or trading, most people just portray it as if it's like they got it all together. And that's why on the stream or whatever, I always tell people, hey guys, you know, like, we're just average Joes, like we don't have it together. I take losses, you know, we're full of flaws. And I just feel like your story, a lot of people can resonate to it. And I feel like if you're open, man, like, do you want to like speaking to the people that are listening, who are looking for a God, or even pray over them if you want to, the last couple minutes, and then we can talk about how people can reach out to you, because I think a lot of people will be touched by not only your trading, but by your spiritual journey that's just starting. And that's okay, right? You know, started with being a Catholic altar boy and then walking away and coming back and starting. A lot of people are at that moment. So
yeah, certainly. And I have no problems with any of this. So I'm looking at the believers and the non-believers, because unfortunately we do have many of those in this world, and maybe even in our community that we trade with and that we pray with, and maybe they're on the fence. Maybe they don't quite understand. Maybe they just need that extra edge, that extra push. So what we're going to do is we're going to say a prayer right now. We're going to ask our Father in heaven, Lord Jesus Christ, that anyone who is watching this podcast, if you made it through all the way to the end here, we thank you first and foremost. But you're here for a reason right now. And that reason is so that you can understand that we are not alone in this world, and that we have a true Father, not just a biological Father, one heavenly Father that cares for us so much. And that when you put your faith in him, will move mountains and create miracles in your life that you cannot even imagine. Just ask people who have experienced it, and you'll know at the end of the day, when you truly have found him, that he will not let you down. Amen. Because guess what? In life, people will.
Yes.
Some biological fathers will. Some biological mothers will. But the true Father in heaven will not. And there's one thing in life. You can be shackled. You can be imprisoned. You can be on your deathbed. But there's one thing that no one could ever take away from you, and that is your relationship with Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And you achieve that through prayer. You achieve that through simply just having a conversation with your higher power. And it's just as simple. Just all you got to do is invite him in. All you have to do is confess your sins, and truly confess your sins, not just on a daily basis. Hey, I did something wrong today. He's going to forgive me. Let me go do it again. No, learn from your mistakes. Try to be a better person and truly believe. And also read the book, which is something that I need to start doing. As a person, I personally hate to read. I've never been into it. And so I'm actually, what my journey is, on January 1st, I'm going to try to do the Bible in a year, is what my goal is.
Nice.
Whether it's through reading or whether it's through reading in audio. But that is something that I, as a person, need to do, because growing my children up, and I want them to live in a Christian environment, we as parents are responsible for their journey, because they're not they're not old enough. They don't know any of that stuff. We have to teach them. But that's what our Father in heaven provides us with, the ability, with the knowledge, and with the intuition, and with the experience, and with the admiration to do so. And it's up to us to do that. And I feel as if I can't be that great, I guess if you want to call it, a spiritual father to my children, unless I become more spiritually involved as well. And that's in the book. But everyone that's watching, we pray for you, and we just thank you for being here.
Amen. Amen. What a powerful testimony. And it just shows that no matter where you are in life, whether you are still walking away from God, whether you are coming back to God, or whether you are strongly grounded in the faith, one thing is for sure is that we all need God. And of course, trading is good. The strategy is good. But I want to encourage you. There's one thing that's more important in life than money, and that is your well-being, right? There's a lot of things that are more important than money, and I'm glad to be able to have a community where we can discuss this. Now, Steve, if people want to reach out to you, right? They want to talk about your testimony, talk about your trading. Like, is there any way they can reach out to you? You got some kind of, channel or some kind of handle, or so how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah. So basically, when I started this journey with trading, of course, just like anyone else that's entrepreneurial, that has a sense and that wants to also help people, because truly that's what I want. At the end of the day, I want to help people. I started up a YouTube channel, and let me just put that on the screen for you.
Yeah, there you go, right?
On Facebook, if you have Facebook. So that's my personal Facebook, Steve Konorzeski. I also have the Breakout Project on Facebook as well. As you can tell, wow, 71 followers. We're really doing big things, let me tell you.
Everybody starts somewhere, man. I mean, I started with 30 people in the Discord, so.
Yeah, right. I mean, you ain't kidding. Everybody starts somewhere. So the Breakout Project is on Facebook and on X. So that's the X right there as well.
Perfect. There you go.
The Breakout Project.
So basically, if people just search The Breakout Project, they'll find you on X, on Discord, on Facebook. You got a The Breakout Project as well, and your personal account. So, all right. Well, Steve, this is a really eventful. Just really appreciate you sharing your journey, your testimony, and your strategy of what you went through. I hope this interview has inspired you guys of what trading futures prop firm can take you, although there's never a guarantee. But if you will use a strategy, use something that works for the long term, you pay attention to how the market moves, and you put in screen time, could it be that one day you'll have similar results like Steve, locking in multiple six-figure payouts, and then perhaps even better, right? And then if that happens, I'd love to interview you as well. So Steve, let's reconnect in the future, and I'd love to hear how your story goes. And I really appreciate your time. Maybe we'll do it again, and see you in the chats.
God bless you, and thank you for everything that you're doing. As I said, I never thought in a million years that there would be a Christian trader. I never thought there would be a Christian person, just in general, just basically having a platform where they're basically just trying to do good things and spread the word. And as you said, not just about money, but life in general, because, hey, things happen. We got to pray for them. Yeah. I never thought I would find that. But you pretty much, you have yourself a little church. We have ourselves a little congregation, which is called. All
glory to God, man. We're all thankful. It's all about the doing of God. So let's have more of that. We'll see each other on live, and we'll talk again soon, okay? Thanks a lot, brother. Really appreciate you, man.